Welcome to the Brain Gauge channel. Whether you've got a brain gauge or just thinking about one, it's probably time just to catch you up on the newest platform. And if you want to keep using the brain gauge the way you've been using it, that's fine. But if you want to upgrade to the current new platform software, that's great too. So let's talk just a little bit about how to use the brain gauge. So the brain gauge platform is, again, it's all about improving brain fitness. That's all we want to do, and there's lots of ways to do that. And the components, or the trifecta of brain gauge, is testing, tracking, and training brain fitness. Now we have three different modes. Modality most people are most familiar with is a standard method, and that's the standard brain gauge method, or the standard testing patterns, and where we test different mechanisms of brain function. And it takes, the standard testing takes 15 to 20 minutes, and it gives you some really accurate and objective measures of brain function. Now we've also added the quick check. The quick check takes 90 seconds. And that's obviously, you get instant results, you get feedback right away. It's pretty accurate and objective. And then we also have brain training. What do you do? How do you improve cognitive reserve? How do you build connectivity? That's what brain training does. Those are all different parts of that. And what does that look like? If you've got the brain gauge, this is what your platform is. This would be the subject ID, or the brain gauge ID. And so you have selections. These are different things you can select. Training platform, quick check, or the standard. That's what I just talked about. Triage Plus, we'll talk about that later in a different video. But for right now, just let's talk about the quick check and the standard, um, and what we can do with those. So what the brain gauge has done, let's talk about how do you actually integrate the brain gauge with your life or with your practice. Well, generally, people do the standard test to start with initial assessment. What's your initial patient assessment, or what's your initial assessment? You think, oh, I want to see what is my overall status. And so that would be the standard that you're familiar with. And this gives you all these different measures, and these are all targeting different functions of brain, of information processing. And so we initiate treatment or training or whatever you're doing. Maybe it's just a change in lifestyle. Maybe it's you're going to start taking supplements. Maybe you're going to give up caffeine. Who knows? Maybe you're like old like me, and you're 66, and you want to see if you can optimize your health. Well, anyway, once you get the standard, and say you're getting some kind of treatment or you're doing something different, you don't need to take the standard test that takes 15 to 20 minutes every time. You take the 90-second quick check test. And then, while, let's say you're getting treated for something, or if you're treating a patient, do the 90-second test whenever, every couple of days, or every on a frequent basis. And this is just tracking, we're tracking progress in this person, obviously getting better for whatever reason. And then over here, the standard measure is now showing vast improvement. Now, the 90-second quick check is gonna give you feedback, about how well you're doing. And then brain training in the interim, you can do the brain training both at home, or in the clinic. And the brain gauge training platform, basically is a way for you to use the brain gauge gym, and try to strengthen strengthen connectivity, improve cognitive reserve. And the whole goal is to get 100%, or get green. That's what you want to do, is get your brain healthy and make on all these different mechanisms. And that's what you're going to do. So let's typically, just review, what is brain gauge used for. Some people think, oh, it's just for tracking recovery from concussion. I don't know who started that rumor, but it's not true. But anyway, it's pretty effective for tracking recovery from concussion. And in this case, that's all we did for this particular subject. You can tracking the impact of treatment. And in this case, this was pulsed electromagnetic field, where somebody started a treatment, got better, and then they stopped the treatment, and they got worse. It gives you an idea. Maybe you should keep the treatment going. And also, you want to track the impact of mild insults and injury. If you're tracking and doing the quick check on a regular basis, What if you all of a sudden come in contact with, say, black mold or something, and you say, whoa, it's going to take a while to get recovered that. Or if you know, get jostled a bit and it's just a mild insult, or it's a mild concussion, or not even a concussion, a sub-threshold concussion. You get a little bit of an insult, it takes a while, you still have to recover. And you want to recover before you expose yourself to more of that insult. Um, and but what is it used for? It's used for tracking brain fitness, things like, do you want to track and look at early detection of aging effects, or tracking whether your treatment is working, or are your supplements working? You want to optimize your treatments with dosimetry. These are the things you can do. Brain training is what aids in recovery and complements treatments. It doesn't substitute treatments. If you're getting a treatment, don't stop the treatment. Keep doing whatever your doctor has suggested, but it does strengthen connectivity, improve cognitive reserve, and it can enhance athletic performance. One of the things that we have is speed drills. And basically, a lot of this is when a lot of times athletic performance really does uh, really does take advantage or really benefits from somebody that all of a sudden can think faster, move faster. Um, and we've been demonstrated in lots of different areas: trauma, degenerative disorders, developmental disorders, pain, pharmacological insult, environmental toxins, behavioral manifestations, different things. Pretty much any neurological disorder or insult the brain gauge is sensitive to. All right. Now let's take a look at a case study from brain training. Well, in this case, we had somebody who's had dyslexia, and she was a nurse, and she even got the blood pressure numbers reversed, and she had trouble following directions, writing names of medications accurately, and she was told she's too slow to perform her job requirements. So what did she do? Well, she actually, she'd been had this problem her whole life, but she started brain training. And what happened when she started brain training? Well, she started seeing improvements. And as she started seeing improvements, she started brain training even more. These vertical tick marks indicate her brain training sessions. And so as she got better and better, she started doing this more and more and more. Well, we use, this is her original standard test, and this is her standard test from over here. And you see there's a lot of improvement on all these things. Remember, green is good, red's not so good. But look at the patient improvements just from doing brain training. She recalls words faster. She quit. There's less transpositioning of letters. Her balance improved. She's got improved driving skills. Much more confidence in in her in her conversations. But anyway, she's improving a lot. Anyway, that's what the brain training stuff is. And the brain training, the brain gauge platform overall. And how do you look at this? Well, again, the QuickCheck, the standard, and the brain training, those are all different things. The brain gauge pro is, just so you understand the difference, the brain gauge pro has unlimited number of patients, unlimited testing, and it allows for remote testing and training from the brain gauge home. So the brain gauge home can plug in, if you're a patient, and you can share your data with your clinician. You can test anywhere, and your results will show up with clinic. Or if the clinician has, the brain gauge, and wants to give it to the brain gauge, wants to give a brain gauge home to a patient, the same thing applies. Anyway, the brain gauge home can stand alone or act remotely. It can stand alone and be completely independent of the brain gauge pro, or you can hook it up that way. Anyway, thank you for watching, and send questions to any questions at info@corticalmetrics.com, and there's lots of other videos on the Brain Gauge channel. So let's stop sharing and let's stop the recording. Hopefully that's good enough to get you going.